Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Every week since January 2017, over 7 years, the Ask Brien radio show has been on KHTS, and every week we discuss business. Either we'll have somebody that's going to teach you something about business, whether or not it's a Facebook ad or SEO, or whether or not somebody's going to tell you their story. Hey, I started selling a book and I've made it big, or I started a online coffee distribution company and this is what's happened to it. But each week we try to teach you something about business. But everybody asks us why is Ask Brien spelled with an E? And we have somebody here, my co-host, Traci. Traci, you there?
I am here, but you didn't call me the resident expert, and that's my most favorite title.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, Mrs.
I mean, I would say it's because I was on vacation, but that's been a couple weeks. So anyway, but that's all right. I can rise to the occasion.
We just found out you were on vacation.
You just found out I was on vacation? Well, what did you do when I wasn't here?
We have AI.
Oh, my God. I would die if I saw an AI version of myself. I don't even know if I could handle it. I know no one else could handle it either if there were two of me.
We need to see the avatar. Anyway, so Miss Traci, our expert in E's, people want to know why Brien is spelled with an E, because most people spell Brien Brian or Bryan. Very few people, unless they're from Ireland or in an Irish pub called O'Brien's, very few people spell Brien with an E.
Well, I'm going to do a spoiler alert right now. The actual real reason is because you couldn't get the domain for the regular spelling, but we have worked around that over the last 5 years.
I just wanted to advise you violated your non-disclosure agreement, but that's okay.
Oh my gosh, and I forgot you're an attorney by trade. What was I thinking? Okay, scratch that, delete. Oh, it's live radio. Okay, no, the reason that Ask Brien is spelled with an E is because of our exceptional engineer, first and foremost.
Thank you, Traci.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks for bringing the estrogen to the show today, too, because, we are
sounds more like bribery,
No.
Listen, when I need to get those tapes quicker, I'll just butter her up.
No funds have passed hands. No.
It's radio. Of course, no funds have transferred hands. What are you talking about? And the other E, absolutely, without a doubt, comes down to our experts. And I am super proud to, I'm saving that E, the other E I was going to use for you, Peter. I am very proud of the expert that we have on the show today. He is amazing, and we've already had such a fun time just off the air before the show started. So everyone is in for a treat today. But an expert by our definition, and it's not just ours, it's pretty much the universal definition, is someone who's invested a minimum of 10,000 working hours in their business category or niche. And if you do the scratch math on that, which I'm really not that great at, I've just done it for this show every week for several years now.
You're not a calculus PhD candidate? What?
No, not even close. I am the definition of a blonde. So anyway, and I own it. So, but with that, we talk about the investment of that time and resources and experience in the 10,000 hours. And, on average, that's working approximately 40 hours a week or so for 50 so weeks over what that would take 5 years. But Peter, you and I both know, Jen, you even know that anytime you're doing a startup, you're going to go over 40 weeks at 40 hours a week for sure.
What does that mean? Even you know.
Even I know.
That was kind of degrading.
I'm not an entrepreneur, not at all. No, she's totally right.
Even this person knows that. No.
I didn't mean it.
I didn't.
You don't know.
You know what,
understand
Traci?
Empathy.
No,
you don't understand empathy, which is one of the big E's here.
Watch this. I just turned his mic off, Traci.
Oh my God!
Look at that.
Thank you.
I
Because-
understood what you were saying, even if Peter didn't.
What?
Well, I am one of the most empathetic people I know. Just ask me. And
I know. Look, empathy and an I. Go ahead.
You're not going to win this battle, Peter. Traci and I are a team.
I'll call in. I'm going to call in the guest.
Yeah, you might have to.
Estrogen versus testosterone.
You're in luck.
Yeah, no, we should just skip straight through these to get into our guest because I'm pretty sure he has a pretty interesting insights on all of this. But before we do that, we are clearly very empathetic and enthusiastic.
And excited!
Whew. And apparently that mic is turned back on.
I know. I'm sorry. I have to.
I know.
It's not up to
I
me.
understand.
She's a union worker, and union workers have to follow the book.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this show is already going off the rails. Okay. And so we also really celebrate education and experience, like we talked about. So those are two other very powerful E components with our experts. And so there's that. And there's likely one more, but I don't really like to bring it up myself. I'd prefer for Peter to introduce my favorite E.
Well, the favorite E is because it's the favorite person you like who's in this show. And
Yes.
everybody knows about it. And if anybody has watched the movie, they'll be pointing their hands and going, well, you can't see it on because you're not on air, but Grease Lightning is
electrifying, and so are we. Just awesome. Woo!
All right. Now, if our guest hasn't said, I can't believe somebody put me on this show and I got to go. This is ridiculous. But if he's still there, Jason, you there?
I'm still here. Yeah, you haven't lost me yet.
Well, we keep trying. All right. So,
but there's still time. Yes, there's still time.
So before we get into what you're currently doing, our listeners do want to know who you are first. So I know you have this new company called, I think it's Cultivize or whatever. Prior to doing that, give us a little bit about your background summary.
Yeah, so really quick, I got into owning, this is my second business, but I got in here sort of in a way by accident. I became a skillpreneur, and I don't know, are you guys familiar with that term?
I am, but go ahead and explain it to the.
Okay, so really, I was a graphic designer working at agencies, and in early 2000, I decided to hang a shingle and start my own business. I was freelancing on the side, and I said, well, I can do this. And so I quickly realized there's a lot to being an entrepreneur and to being a business owner. And so my background is in marketing for 20 plus years, and then I morphed over to the other side of my brain to really focus on business processes and helping businesses from another side of things rather than just the inbound marketing side, which we'll talk about today. I live in New York, got two beautiful kids, two dogs, and a partridge in a pear tree, and a beautiful wife.
What about the other things for Christmas? Partridge and pear tree is only one.
Oh, well, I'm
I was going to make you sing them all.
I'm not in that group. If you get my drift, so
Yeah, it's a little off season.
I don't want to cross the path.
It's a little off season for that, for sure, but that's okay.
What do you mean?
Hey.
Christmas in July. Who did that? Eddie, Crazy Eddie from New York. All right.
Okay, well, it's April, but that's okay, I guess.
That's okay.
Whatever.
Hey, we can celebrate year round.
Exactly. So, let's just go right into the company because I know you have that background and it's interesting. So you were doing marketing and graphic design, and then all of a sudden you decided to go in the process. That's kind of a different approach. But so you had this other business and you started this new company called Cultivize. Is that correct? Is that how you pronounce it?
That's correct. Yep.
And so, did you create it yourself or with another person?
So no, created myself, and Cultivize for you guys and the listeners. So it's really made up of two words, obviously a made up word, which at the time as a creative person, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's a cool word, but then you got to go spell it for people, so it means to cultivate and seize relationships is really what the idea of the meaning behind Cultivize is. So I sold the first business to a former partner that I had. I don't have any partners with this new business, to answer your question. And I did it really for two reasons. One, being a designer for almost 25 years at the time, I was looking for something different, a change. But I also saw a huge problem that businesses, whether you're a few $100,000 in revenue, a young starting business, or you're a multi-million-dollar business, and the same problem existed that they spend a lot of money on marketing or human capital, right? Going networking, going to events, going to trade shows, et cetera. And they don't quantify, is it actually bringing in revenue, right? And they think to themselves, hey, I'm meeting all these new people, we're getting all these new leads. And often you don't really worry about, okay, but are they actually turning into a fruitful relationship, for our business? And that's what I decided to really focus my next second business on is to bridge that gap and to help businesses figure that out.
Well, how do you quantify? I mean, so it's one thing I run an ad, I spend $7,000, I bring in $21,000 of revenue. It's got the RA of 3x. Okay, that's pretty simple, right? That's an advertising. But how can you calculate a referral? How can you calculate, other things that aren't, networking? How do you calculate that?
So it's pretty simple. I mean, so I don't want to say most, but many businesses today have something they're doing to keep, I'll call it CRM, but they have some way of keeping track of things, you would hope, right, Peter? So whether it's a spreadsheet, where they're using something like Pipedrive, which is a very, low cost, effective tool for smaller businesses, or something more robust, to a more, sophisticated CRM. Ideally, every contact you have in your system, in your address book, you should be keeping track of where you met them and how they found out about you. So again, whether that be someone listening here, on the radio show that calls me afterwards and say, hey, I heard you on with Traci and Brien, I would take note of that and keep track of that, or at a networking event or a trade show or what have you. And if you do that, and you're able to then say, okay, well, how many leads did this person refer to me, right? And you might think they're an amazing referral partner. Oh, wow, Peter's given me 50 leads the last 2 years. That's awesome. I'm going to keep my relationship going with him. But if you don't take a step to say, okay, well, out of the 50, how many were qualified and how many actually turned into business and how much revenue do we generate out of that business? Is it worth my relationship with Peter to still go, right?
That sounds
And
very
that's the
cold,
missing piece,
approach.
Well,
You're
I'm
just
using you as an
quantifying.
example, and
It's
I know
like
that you wouldn't do that to me. You would only give me the high quality stuff, right? I know that.
no,
And
but
we have the
but it's cold in the fact that it's all numbers. It's like I'll have a relationship with you if I get enough business off of you, but if I don't get enough business off of you, hey, I'll spend my time elsewhere.
Well, you want to, but it's not about that, Peter. The way I look at it is actually not from that perspective. I look at it as, what am I doing as a bad job at building this relationship with Peter? Maybe he doesn't understand what I do. Maybe he doesn't understand the ideal client, and that's my fault, right? So I need to do a better job to help him help us. And maybe you are someone that came to me and saying, hey, we can be great partners, but then you're questioning our relationship, and you're saying, Jason, why aren't you closing more deals? Like, I've given you 50 leads this year. What's going on? And so,
What is
it's
going
right, exactly. so it's a balance, right, between both sides, and we see that a lot even with trade shows, and I know, COVID, shut things down for a while, but now trade shows are growing, as they did prior to the pandemic. And we speak to a lot of businesses that think the trade show is great because they get so many people coming to the booth, but they might be coming for the free swag, and then they're not really a qualified client. They just want the chance to win the iPad. So they're giving their business card, and it's really a lead that's going to go nowhere.
Well, that's actually a good thing that I wanted to bring up, and that is the lead magnet. So I don't know, maybe you can explain a little bit about what a funnel is, but in a typical funnel situation, and you can go over that because that's your expertise, but I know a lot of people that give out a free lead magnet. They can give out a book, a checklist, something, right? And they give out these free leads. And I'm always thinking that when you're giving out a free lead magnet, the percentage is going to be completely different than if you're going after even a report that costs $1 because there's a commitment to pay versus not. And so that's a very good question. How do you quantify on a lead magnet, a free lead magnet? How do you quantify whether or not that's a successful lead magnet? It's not just downloading it. How do you know that that's going to come to fruition, create a relationship?
So in a perfect world, like let's just use, because it's something that I could relate to and help visualize. You come to a website and you download that lead magnet, right? You've gotten to that website from someplace, whether it be from a Google search, a Google ad, someone told you about the company, whatever it might be. Hopefully, right, that is connected to the CRM. And even if it's not, hopefully there's also a question on there: how did you hear about us, right? And we're expecting that they're going to, and you have a few choices that the person's going to say, oh, I found you through social media or through Facebook or whatever. That is how you start quantifying to say, okay, are the people that are coming to our website to download the lead magnet from the place that they're finding us, is that our audience? Is that the right type of person? But to your point, talking about the funnel, and just, for the people that aren't aware, it's what it visually looks like, right? So you have the top of the funnel and it gets narrow as you go down it. And the idea is you're qualifying those leads as they go down the funnel, with the idea being at the very bottom, they're a highly qualified lead. Now they're turning into a potential customer, right? If they've gone through that whole funnel process correctly, and there's a pathway. Not everybody does. Most people that download the lead magnet will never ever do business with the company they downloaded that lead magnet from, right? Because they're doing research, right? They're going to you and they're going to 15 other websites to download similar content. And the reality is they're going to buy from whomever they're talking to at the particular juncture of when they're making a decision. So, the big thing that is important to understand with the lead magnets and what you bring up with the funnel before, Peter, is that you have to have a process to nurture people, right? So think about this. You're going to make a big purchase. You're going to buy a car, right? I think everybody can relate to that. How many people that are listening today will wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to buy a car today. I don't know what kind of car I'm going to buy, but I'm going to go to a dealership and I'm going to buy a car today and pay cash. Very infrequently does that happen, right? You're going to go, you're going to research, you're going to test drive, you're going to go on looking consumer reports. You might ask friends of yours that have other cars that you're interested in. It's going to take some time before you actually make that purchase. And so what happens is that there's a lot of influences that could affect your decision-making process. Now, what happens if now you're at that final stage, you say, okay, I'm ready. I know what kind of car I want. I know all the details, the trim, the accessories, and I know where I'm going to go to buy the car. But what happens if that day, right, or the day before, you get a direct mail piece in the car, or you see an ad, and it's from a dealer that you didn't even consider, but they're saying, we have this amazing offer for this car. First time, customers will get, $5,000 off the sticker price. You're going to potentially go to that dealer, right? Because how could you pass up that opportunity? And it's all about the timing. So some other dealer could have been talking to you for months about buying the car, but here, this other dealer comes in at the exact right moment to influence your decision process. And that's really what it's all about. It's staying in front of that person from the point of them showing interest to the actual point of them making a decision.
I have a lot of questions follow up for that, but we do have to take a break. You'll listen to KHTS 1220 AM 98.1 FM. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM on the FM dial. All right, Jason. So we've got a couple people that were asking us questions. So people don't know what a lead magnet is. They don't know what a funnel is. So can you just kind of give a simple description and process of what a funnel is?
Sure. So a funnel is the steps to get people into your world, to learn about your business, but also to go through, hopefully, to identify themselves as a qualified lead, right? So the first step, think of a funnel as a newsletter sign up on a website, right? You sign up for a newsletter, you're now entering that business, right, as a very, very, high level lead, meaning, no, they don't know about you. You don't really know too much about them, but you're kind of engaging in that interest. But then as you go through, you might then download some information, which we'll get to in a minute with the, with the gated piece of content that we talked about there. But the idea is you're going to have interaction through the funnel, right? So in the beginning part, you might just go in and sign up for a newsletter. But then eventually you're going to get a phone call from the company. Maybe they're going to send you an email, more information. You're going to do a demo if it's some type of software you're buying. So think of the funnel even in the world, and before I use the example of a car dealer, their funnel is they take advertisements out and they send you direct mail pieces in the mail. That's the very top. But then they try to invite you into the showroom to do a test drive or to check out a new model, right? So now you're kind of going down through the funnel. But then when you're sitting down with the actual account person or you're writing up the contract, obviously now you're at the bottom. So think of the funnel as the process to acquire goods and services, from an organization.
And so a funnel can apply for any business or just specific businesses?
Really any business, but generally you don't see them in quick transactions. So if I'm, let's say, own a floral shop and I'm selling bouquets of roses or, flowers, there is no, process there. It's like, I need 12 dozen roses. You walk into the store, 5 minutes later you leave and you got your bouquet of roses. So you don't need a funnel. Funnels are typically designed when there's a longer sales process, typically, few months or longer to actually sell whatever it is you're trying to sell.
Does it have to do with price? So for instance, as you said, if you have a product that's $4 or a product that's $4,000, obviously the funnel is going to be different size. But do you even do a funnel for a $4 product, or is it just it's got to be at least $100, $200 minimum?
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a little bit of a higher price tag there, because generally, if the price tag is lower, the decision-making process is going to be much quicker. Something that's $4, you're willing to take a risk. I think you, me, and Traci have all bought things for under $10 that we probably didn't even need, but we're like, oh, it's only $10. I'll just buy it, But if it was $1,000 or $5,000, you would take a little bit more time and consideration.
Okay, and somebody had asked what a lead magnet is. They didn't know, so can you go over what that means?
Yeah, so a lead magnet is typically something where you would find on a website most often, but sometimes you might find them on social media. For example, I'm sure there's thousands of people listening that have Facebook and are on Facebook every day, for example, and they see ads pop up, this new weight loss program, or check out this new product, or whatever it might be. Click here to learn more. When you click, that's a lead magnet. Right? They're giving you some type of information that you've asked for, but in order to get that, you got to give up some information about yourself. And so that's usually they're what they call gated lead magnets, where you have to provide something, but sometimes you might find some free download on a website where you don't have to provide your email address or any information. But most often they're usually what we call gated, and they're requiring like your name and an email at a minimum.
Typically, from what I've seen, I don't think I've ever seen anything that wasn't gated. That you either have to give up something to get that lead magnet. Typically, is the way I see it. Okay, well, so that's good information. Now, so how long does a funnel usually take? I mean, the car obviously is a bigger expense item, but something that's $200 or $400. I mean, typically, what's the processing time for a funnel from start to finish? Average. I mean, obviously we're asking for, a broad definition, but what is typical?
Well, look, I would think of it this way. Rather than me saying it takes this amount of time, I would think about, how long does it take to acquire a customer, right? So depending upon your business, whether you're a doctor's office or, again, you're selling something, in a retail environment or B2B, you should relatively know how long it takes for someone to make a decision. I'll give an example. I'm getting new carpeting put into, the house, right? It's part of the house, in the next couple of weeks. I called a couple of people. I knew what I wanted. For me, it was only about a 3-week process to find a company, see samples, get a quote, and make a decision, right? So that funnel is pretty short for them, right? But there is a process, right? They have to come, they have to take measurements, they have to show me samples, they have to send me an estimate, I have to approve it, give them a deposit, they have to order, right? So there's steps involved. But what I typically would tell people, Peter, is if your process, let's say, takes 3 months, then you probably only need a couple of steps in your funnel. You don't need that many because your process isn't very long. But if it takes you a year to acquire a customer, then you're definitely going to have more steps, during that funnel. You might have more meetings, more conversations, more interaction with the potential customer, because at the end of the day, they're really not so much buying what you're selling. They're also, in many cases, especially in the B2B world, they're buying you and the personality and the comfort level that you're going to actually be able to deliver what you're actually promising you could deliver beyond what the features and benefits are.
So on the online world, there's a lot of email back and forth, right? And people can unsubscribe. It's not a usually big percentage, but you also have that. How do you get engagement? How do you create engagement from that? Because unless they're booking a call or there's a call to action to do something, how do you keep people engaged? I all the time I'll get 15 emails over a 3 month period from somebody, Neil Patel, whatever. I mean, all these people. It's
Hmm.
like, how do you keep people engaged?
Well, so this is the cool thing, right? If you have, and there's plenty of systems that could do it, and this is what we do for our clients. But if you have a system that could actually track the people that are in your database, right, of when they're visiting the website, when they're interacting on social media, when they're doing different things, you could actually trigger not only emails to go out that are highly personalized, but even notifications to a salesperson. So, for example, let's say you've signed up for our newsletter and you're saying, I'm interested, send me some information. And for the last 3 months, you haven't opened any emails, or maybe you open them, but you don't click on anything. But the moment you take action, I get notified. And so what I would put out there is if, any business listening is doing email marketing, because that is the most cost effective, cheapest option out there for marketing. If you have a database, even if it's a few thousand people, if you're putting out good content and the content isn't overwhelming, then you do have the likelihood of people engaging. And even if it's 30%, 20% open rate, that's still people that are raising their hand saying, I'm interested in what you're talking about or what you're selling. But if you're not looking at that data, then what's the point of even doing the email marketing in the first place?
Well, that's all good information.
Yeah.
You're listening to KHS 1220, 98.1 FM. And now we have our sponsor, Legal Steps.
And we want to say thank you to Legal Steps. It's LEGALSTEPZ. That's with a Z.com. I took the incorporation course, and I'm starting from nothing. I have talked on several occasions about how I do not have any kind of legal background, but it was so easy that even I could do it. You just you log on and you kind of go at your own pace, which is great. Especially everybody's so busy these days. You've got kids and dogs and spouses and another job that you're trying to possibly maintain while you want to maybe open a business on the side, or this is going to be the next step for you. You can work at your own pace. It's a self-guided course, all online. So when I took the incorporation course, I was able to do it from the comfort of my own home. I sat there on a Saturday afternoon, took just under 2 hours. I was able to take notes and kind of follow along. I could pause it. I could back it up. I could start the chapter, if you will, all over again if I kind of didn't understand what was being told to me. I was able to, in the course, file the articles of incorporation, get a tax ID number, go over the minutes and bylaws, an S selection, the statement of information, registered agent is included at no charge. So in addition to that course, they also offer an LLC course and a trademark course. All of this you can do each course for under $150. So don't let the cost inhibit you. If you've got this dream of starting your own business, you can do it, and you can do it affordably. If you can't do it, the experts, who, by the way, have over 30 years of experience, they'll just do it for you. They'll kind of just hold your hand through it. But really, it's very easy. Again, like I said, if you get kind of lost or confused, just pause it. And what I really like about it is the fact that you can see, it's like a picture in picture. You can see the lawyer on the screen with you. So you can, and you're seeing his screen. So you're not just taking in this information blindly. You're able to visually see, okay, this is the part that he's talking about. This is what I need to fill out. It's really could not be any easier. Again, legalsteps.com, LEGALSTEPZ. That's with a Z.com.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sponsoring the show.
Sure.
Anyway, we're going to be going back to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 98.1 FM. And Traci said, Peter, I've been on the show now over 40 minutes. You haven't let me say a word. So, Traci, you're on.
3 years and 40 minutes. But
I thought you're not good at math.
So anyway, okay, so I like to pivot, and I think you have provided amazing information up to this point on all of the benefits of of the lead nurturing. I want to talk a little bit more or talk some about your experience as an entrepreneur. So tell me about how your business model is built out right now for Cultivize, and tell me about that first. And then I want to ask you about your team and how you're looking to expand and things like that.
Sure. So our business, so we are a reseller for some software that we sell, but then we also do consulting for other types of CRM software. So the way that we monetize that is, through consulting, right? So we have licenses our clients buy, but what we've learned over the years, Traci, is that most software companies are very how can I say, not flexible when it comes to support, right? They're just kind of cookie cutter and they follow the playbook. I have a problem importing my list, or this doesn't work. How do I fix it? So they're more troubleshooting than not being strategically helpful to their clients. So the value we bring and why we're able to resell those licenses directly through us is that we're bringing a lot more, hands-on approach value and strategy to our clients. So it's one thing to have software, but if you don't know how to use it and you're not using it well, then there's really no point in having it. So our business, to answer your question, is split into kind of two groups. One are the businesses that we just consult with, and other ones that are buying technology from us, and we're helping them use that technology.
And in doing that, so it sounds like that you're monetizing through, again, like the consulting or do you do that on a retainer basis, on a project basis, and then do you have affiliate relationships with the softwares?
Sure. So on the consulting side, we have actually a very unique model, and maybe it's come across just kind of in my personality here on the call. But all of our consulting clients falls into two buckets. One, they're either defining what they need from us, and we'll come up with a flat price to do the work. But oftentimes, they really don't know what they need, but they have goals, right? Business goals, marketing goals, sales goals. And so we'll develop a phased approach, and they'll buy a block of hours from us. And, we talked before about processes. Well, what we didn't talk about is the internal processes needed to run a successful business. So, we have project management software, time tracking software. So our team, which I've instilled on them, is taking diligent notes. So, if they buy a block of 50 hours, we know exactly how much time they have left, where that time that has been spent went, what's been done, what tasks have been completed. And we're extremely transparent, Traci, with our clients. So, at any given time, they're like, okay, well, where did half the hours go? We could pull up a report within 5 seconds showing them, all of that log time and project work that's been done. So that helps, and plus it rolls over. It's kind of like, like the unused minutes of the old time of like the old, cell phone companies when they sort of started.
Right,
if you don't use your minutes, we'll roll them over to the next month. Well, we do the same thing, right? So if you're buying, time from us as a consultancy, then, if you don't need work from us for a month, the time will just roll over. It never expires. So, we really become more of a team with our clients than a vendor in that way. And then as far as the licenses go, it's kind of like I'll go back to the car analogy. Car dealers are buying cars from manufacturers at a certain price. They're reselling it for a profit. We're doing the same thing. There's no kind of secrecy there that, but the profit on the licenses isn't outrageous. It's really more that the monetization comes from, again, the consulting we do for the software we sell.
And then just super quick before our break, are you also having support outside of the support that comes with those softwares? Is that part of the ongoing monthly relationship?
So we provide unlimited free support, and we'll get on phone calls, we'll get on Zoom calls, everything aside from a smoke signal, which doesn't really work for carrier pigeons. We're pretty much giving, the clients the full flexibility when work with us. And I know you want to talk about the team. I know we take a break. We can talk about that afterwards, but our whole team is available, to our clients.
Well,
great.
Thanks a lot. We're going to be taking a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Like no other station in the world. Is that true, Jim? You don't like no other station in the world.
We're very unique, yes.
Absolutely.
And it's because of you. You bring the uniqueness.
And you forgot the other E, Tracy, ego.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah. Okay,
she didn't forget it. She skipped it.
I don't want to waste any time on your ego because I have two really great questions I want to get in before we have to wrap. And one
sometimes,
is,
depending on what day of the week it is. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, enough already. Enough already. So, Jason, tell us about your team because I know you couldn't be as fantastic as you are and be able to have time to be on radio interviews if you didn't have such a great team. So, tell us a little bit about the people behind the scenes.
Sure. So we really, are focusing on the main aspects of being able to do what we do, which we talked about today. So one is our content team. So we have two amazing writers that help write the content for sales emails, marketing emails, newsletters, the gated content we talked about today. We also have onboarders as well as the strategists that are going to help understand the business goals and the things we're trying to do and how we can achieve that, and bridge the gap and put together a plan. The other missing piece that we bring in that's really important is integration. So many businesses we talk to already have an ERP, they have software they're using for XYZ, and they live and breathe by that piece of software. So we need to find ways to integrate into other technology they have, and we could do that for them as well. So we really pretty much do it all. Think about, once you get the lead, we take over, right? I mean, we don't do any lead gen for our clients, right? So no like web copy and things like that, but everything that happens to solidify that relationship, the team can help in those areas.
That's amazing. So all of these things that you've talked about, they're just such fantastic business development growth tools and strategy. Can you tell us where do you need to be as an entrepreneur in your business to really be able to optimize and benefit from your services? What is the ideal place of a business milestone, if you will, for someone to hire for your services?
Okay, and I love that question, and I'm going to use a really quick analogy. So presumably, Traci, you and Peter both have some investments. I know listeners to the show are investing money somewhere, and the way I look at it is if you're investing money with an investor, even if you're doing it yourself, it'd be very foolish and almost, inconceivable that you wouldn't look to say, am I making money with my investment, right? Like I'm not going to keep buying stock every month or investing and not knowing if it's performing in my favor. And so to answer your question and with that kind of analogy, if you're a business listening today and you're spending more than a couple of $1,000s a month on marketing, which is, more than $20,000 a year, and you're not tracking to see if that marketing is actually driving revenue and growth for the business, you are a perfect fit for us. So that's an easy one.
Okay,
second piece,
and we're gonna have to leave the second piece to our next interview when you come because we are gonna have to wrap. But before we do,
problem.
how can people get in touch with you and continue this great conversation?
So the easiest thing to do is go to afterthelead.com. You'll find all the information about me on there. You could also find me on LinkedIn, which is Jason Leigh Kramer. Leigh is spelled Leigh, and it's Kramer, Kramer.
And if you are driving in traffic or just want to replay all this because of the good information, find us at our podcast on all your listening platforms. That's the Ask Brien podcast, AskBrien podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Yay. Okay. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you very much. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Over and out.